Hi everyone, my name is Jonathan Davis and I am one of the instructors in geospatial technologies at Southern New Hampshire University. The previous video we reviewed how to open ArcMap, how to open a saved MXD document in ArcMap, how to connect to a folder so that we can access geographic data, a shapefile, or a feature class. How to add or how to use the tools, zoom in, zoom out, pan, fixed move, and how to bookmark areas. This video, we're going to focus on how to look at attribute information that is tied to spatial data, particularly in vector data, how to pull that information in a usable way to get information support, and how to use the select and unselect button and the information button. So let's go ahead and get started. It is important to watch the first video, video 1 for explore the world, explore the map, before going to this video, and it's important to read the books, the assigned reading, chapter 1, from both of the required readings for this class. So if you haven't done that already, go ahead and do that now before coming to this video. It'll provide context for what we will be covering. All right. So all of this information, as you know from our review of the table of contents, each piece here, each shapefile, each feature class here, is its own file. It has its own attribute data. And to look at that attribute data, I'm going to go ahead and go to countries. You just right click on the spatial data and go open attribute table. And you can see in here that there's a lot of information. Looking at the column heads, you have country name, you have who's in charge of the country, if it's an imperial power. So for American Samoa, you have the United States as the sovereign. You have the population, pop country. You have the square kilometers for country, the square miles, the currency that is used, the currency code, and if it's landlocked. And as well as it looks like it has a color code for how to assign color for the map. You can sort this information based on alphabetical order, if it's a string, letters, or based off of the numbers, highest to lowest, or alphabetical order for alphabetical order for letters, highest to lowest for numbers. So if you want to know what countries, first in the alphabet, it looks like it's Afghanistan. But if you double click on the column name, it'll sort it. So if I double click to have Z to A, if I want to know what the population of the United States is according to this, it'll help me navigate easier. So there's the United States. I've selected it, and I have the population here, the square kilometers and the square miles. And it shows there's almost 300 million here. But you'll notice when I close out, so I can do population as well, sort by population, and it shows the United States as the third most populous country. If I close here, you'll see that the United States is still selected. That's using the select feature when you click on that, and it's also select feature here. This would allow me, if I wanted to create a permanent shapefile that's just the United States, or a temporary shapefile that's just the United States. So if I wanted to create a temporary shapefile, I just go to Selection, Create Layer from Selected Features. If I wanted to create a permanent shapefile, I could just do Data, Export Data. So if I create a temporary, I just Create Layer from Selected Features. So if I turn off countries, I'll still have the United States as its own file. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that. You see it's easy to create that data. Using the select function, so you have a bunch of different options: select rectangle, polygon, lasso, circle, line. I think rectangle, the default, is just fine. So if I want to select all the countries that are in North America, I can just drag there So now that it has, I'm going to just go ahead and turn off the ocean so it's easier to see, and the rivers. So it selected the countries in North America, and it looks like it's got the Bahamas as well if I want Central America. But I'm also going to include Denmark as well. So if you miss something in that drag, if you want to include something else, you just hold the Shift button and left click, and it'll add that selection. So if I go back to my attribute table, it shows that I have 7 items selected. So this is all of the items in the attribute table for this feature class or shapefile. When I go to selected features, it only shows things that I have selected. So I can sort on alphabetical, I can sort on population, I can sort on square miles. So if I want to know what country is the smallest in square miles, I could double click that's highest, double click that's smallest. I could see that Bermuda has the smallest country, and if I want to find out population, I can see that St. Pierre, and I'm not sure how to pronounce that, has the smallest population out of the things that I've selected. So it's a way to, simplify the data, control the data. So if you want to add different elements, you can do the drag. So you have, let's see, it might take a second to load. So I have all these items. If there are items that you didn't want to be selected, you simply hold the Shift button down again, and it'll unselect. So if something is selected and you no longer want it to be part of your selection, you do the same thing, Shift, left click. If it's something that's not selected and you want it to be part of your selection, it's the same Shift, left click. And this will allow you to organize your information. So if you need to know, what is the most populous country in Europe, you can select Europe using your select features, and you can do the sort function in the attribute table, and that'll allow you to organize it. If you need to unselect, like you no longer want to select what you have, you just simply click this button, and that'll clear the selection. So there are 2 other buttons in this aisle that I want you to know about for the basic introduction to ArcMap. There's the measure key and there's the information key. So if you go to the measure key, this will allow you to measure area. It'll allow you to measure distance. And so you just simply draw and it'll tell you those distances. You'll do a Google Earth tutorial in Module 3, and it's a little bit easier to use in ArcMap. So I just recommend, if you're going to do measuring distances, use Google Earth over ArcMap with this function. But it is there available to you. The information button, however, is very useful in ArcMap. This allows you to avoid the clutter of the attribute table. And so if you just want to know the information about Iceland, you can simply just click on Iceland, and it shows up here that it's, those are the abbreviations, the FIPS. The population is 267,000. That's how big it is. That's the currency. Same thing if you want to know Russia. It gives you all the information as well. So the information button is very good if you just need quick information about a singular feature. But also notice there is this identify from feature. So it could have all the layers. I usually do topmost layer, and you just make sure that the spatial feature that you are interested in is on the topmost layer. Okay, so while we have time, those are the main things that I wanted you to understand: how to navigate, how to interact with your spatial data, how to interact with your attribute data. All the information that I've presented you so far will allow you to complete the Explore the World assignment. I wanted to give you a brief introduction on symbology. So if you want to change how your information is displayed, go right-click on countries and then go to properties. And this symbology shows you that you can display by categories and you can display by quantities. So the categories here, it says, each country has its own color. You could also do by landlock. It's either, it doesn't show it here, but when you add all the values, it's either yes or no. So if I hit apply on this, it symbolized it based on yes, it does touch the ocean, or no, it is landlocked. So all the countries in green are landlocked. If you want to change the color, you can go to the color ramp and change it, or if you double click on the color, you can change it here and then just click OK. So if I want it to be yellow, click apply, and then it'll change the color there. If you want to change the transparency, that's there as well, but that's just basic symbology. But you can also symbolize on quantities. So if you want to symbolize country based off of population, here's our population field, and here's the range based off a natural breaks. So when we hit apply, we can kind of see where the most populous countries are and where the countries that have a low population are. Now, to be fair, raw population data, it might be easier to, it might be fairer to display this by density. So if you did your population over square miles, you could see what the population is, like what the population density is. So you can manipulate your data even if that's not a specific field. So you have population country and you can normalize it by square miles. So when we click apply again, hopefully we'll see some differences in the map. So it looks like most of our countries have a fairly high, looks like a fairly low population density. Okay. Okay, so that's something that you can use for symbolization that you'll probably use in later courses at Southern New Hampshire. I just wanted to make sure that you had some introduction to that. But you should now, based off this video, have a guide to complete the assignment. If you have any questions, if I'm your instructor, please don't hesitate to email. All of the instructors know this program very well, so don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you for listening, and have a good rest of your day.